Hey, what's going on, chumpers? I just got out of a bar fight with Edward Scissorhands. He won. You should see the other guy. He has scissors for hands. Speaking of scissors, let's cut the crap. I know you've been trying to cancel me. I know you've all been colluding. I know you've all been in comments and in secret discords, all trying to plot a secret assassination attempt against my career. It's not going to work. You have nothing. Guy has a torn up shirt. What, you're gonna cancel him? Guy needs to go to a barber sometime soon. What, you gonna cancel me for that? I'm just kidding. Nobody's colluding and making a master plan to bring about my downfall. And didn't I sound kind of crazy when I accused you all of those things? You all probably felt pretty scared, and I'm sorry about that. You're safe here. That's how I would pat your head to make you feel safe. Cancellation is like putting somebody in a vacuum. A solid cell made of titanium, a inescapable shadow realm which no creator has ever found their way out of. Except for every single one who does. Content creators have long since feared cancellation ever since people decided that, hey, maybe being a shitty person on camera isn't that cool. I don't like the YouTube videos where they call people slurs. They scare me. Cancellation is certainly an adversity that content creators face, especially with a long-running internet persona. Those skeletons always seem to find their way out of those closets. Except not the gay closet, the homophobic one. There are two closets. It's two closets. There's the gay closet, and then you have the cancel closet, and you only can come out of one, except for Shane Dawson. Okay, Shane Dawson, he had two of them. It was a walk-in. However, in the wake of woke, cancel culture has incited some pretty surprising reactions out of different creators. Today, I'm going to be doing some analysis of cancellation among content creators. And I'm gonna do it in a bit of a nerdy way, actually. Maybe, potentially, even a controversial way. I'm gonna be talking about suicide. Emil Durkheim. No, not you, Lil Durk. Easy now, girl. Emil Durkheim is the father of sociology. He was the first guy who was like, hey, wait a second, we all kind of interact with each other in a way that we can break down, think about in numbers, as opposed to just saying, that guy's kind of weird, and we walk about our day. Durkheim came up with a theory of suicide, and I'm going to make this as simple as possible. Durkheim had noticed that a lot of people were committing suicide. Now, of course, I'm probably going to have to censor that in post. Whatever. I don't want to get age restricted, so I'm just going to have to blur out suicide. I'm not saying sewer slide. I'm not saying murder themself. No. If you want to watch Rugrats, Nickelodeon's Channel 25, check it out, pal. So Durkheim sees a lot of people committing suicide and says, hey, I'm kind of noticing a bit of a pattern here. Durkheim looked at the suicides that were taking place in his country of France and came with 4 determinations as to why suicide was committed. The first one we're going to be talking about is a fatalistic suicide comes about when somebody feels as if society is being too regulated, society is being oppressive. The societal factors become too much to bear, and instead of the person trying to revolutionize, trying to organize, they end up committing suicide. As far as cancellation goes, though, I feel that the best content creator that suits this type of suicide is Asmongold.
Well, the thing is, how could Obama run against Trump? Because didn't Trump say Obama was born in Kenya? Damn, yeah, he gonna out him. Yeah, he gonna pull up that birth certificate again. He goes for the hat trick. Oh, actually, I mean, it'll be the 4th election that he wins, the 3rd that he becomes the president. So yeah, I don't know how they can bring back Obama. Yeah, I don't know about that. Because like this is like, you know, like in video games. Well, because because the Kenya thing. That's the problem, right?
Asmongold was not always a right-wing grifter. Asmongold actually had several conversations with Hassan when he realized some of his wrongdoings, I think around 2023. At that time, Asmongold actually seemed like he wanted to change. It was around election time last year when Asmongold had some pretty controversial statements about Palestinians and immigrants. People called him out on this, And at first, it seemed like he was trying to make some ground on why he was in the wrong. And by the time Election Day rolled around, Asmongold turned out to be a Donald Trump fan now. He's essentially ridden the high since. He's decided that everything he needs to talk about from now on relates to political issues that he has no idea about.
Because, like, this is like, you know, like in video games?
Social issues which don't affect him in the slightest.
Is creators of Netflix adolescents that they show at the parliament and schools that causes discussion and wants to make things change on social media's toxic influence and misogynistic influence on teenage boys? I'm never gonna take any of this shit seriously at all until they start holding other girls accountable for the toxic shit that they do. Any traditional sense of masculinity has been completely removed by society. If you watch a monkey or a gorilla, you'll see the little gorillas fucking with the big gorillas, and then the big gorillas set the little gorillas straight,
and so on. Asmongold viewed himself as being persecuted by the masses, and instead of trying to become a better person and build his road back to social acceptability, he decided that it's not for him. He's all set, and honestly, it makes sense for him. It's hard to believe that Asmongold actually harbors every single opinion that he spits on his Twitch streams and YouTube videos, but still he has fully engulfed himself in the grift because it's making him money. And of course, Asmon is one of the biggest streamers on the platform. He has a lot of eyes on him, meaning that he typically gets regulated a lot more than other creators would. And that brings us to our second form of suicide. Anomic suicide comes about when there is a lack of regulation. People are jobless, they're bankrupt, they're essentially void of all sort of social nets and withholdings, and therefore they decide, you know what, I'd be better off dead. Our subjects for Anomic suicide as it pertains to cancellation, how about those big words? Ooh, this guy thinks he could fucking read a book or something. Nah, I'm playing, guys. I know what they mean. We're going to be talking about Drew and Enya, the hosts of the podcast Emergency Intercom. The thing about Drew and Enya is they kind of started off their careers with cancellation. Drew and Enya started off as Vine stars, and if you don't know this, Vine was notorious for racist jokes. Apologies have been dealt out since, and I'm not going to be the determiner of whether they meant it or not, or if you believe them or accept the apologies. I'm simply stating that they made the apologies. Now, after about 180 episodes of their existing podcast, Emergency Intercom, Drew and Enya find themselves in hot water again for saying that Greta Thunberg fell off.
You know who else fell the fuck off? You know who else fell off? Greta Thunberg. That bitch is in the gutters, bitch. Like, sorry, bitch. Like, but what was I saying? Oh, yeah, Greta Thunberg fell off. Bitch is in the gutter. Literally was that girl. She was like fighting for climate change.
Her saying she shouldn't be up there, like, you're right. You should be in school, and your parents kind of suck for not letting you just go to school and be fucking normal. Like, go to school, be normal.
I think she's still fighting for it, but in like 20 years she'll probably
fighting where? Because I don't see her.
Now, the thing is, Greta Thunberg has been a climate activist since I was in high school. A lot of people have known her name, and she has done great work. In present day, Greta Thunberg is advocating for Palestine, very much so. She is probably going to be going down as one of the greatest activists of our time, and she will be in history books. And to Drew and Enya, this is an off-the-cuff, harmless joke, saying that they haven't heard much about her since the climate activism, but people online, especially their audience, did not appreciate the joke because of how much work Greta has done for Palestine. Due to the comment, somebody made a TikTok interlacing the comments made by Drew and Enya along with footage of Greta advocating for Palestine, along with some of the Palestinian footage that has come out from journalists. Now, it's very pertinent to the point as to why this footage was interlaced with that clip, because Greta has been such a vocal advocate for Palestine. But people said that that TikTok was doing too much. I imagine these same people to be Emergency Intercom fans, but people were essentially going online at bat for Drew and Enya, saying that, okay, seriously, guys. However, I don't think it's very unfair to say, with an ongoing genocide of Palestinian people, that making a comment against one of the greatest advocates, even as a joke, may be a bit in ill taste. And posting such a video is not doing too much, it's just a simple reality. There is an infinite number of people that you could have said fell off that probably would have been funny in that moment. Greta Thunberg may not be the person you would have wanted to say. Now, as of yesterday, a new episode of Emergency Intercom came out where Drew and Enya do not really apologize. They actually don't even mention it. And I don't know if these episodes are pre-recorded, but nothing happened. No apology, no remarks, and they can do that. There's no real regulation to their actions. Emergency Intercom fans are aware that Drew and Enya have been problematic in the past, and hey, some more problematic comments, behavior is really not out of the norm for them. And so a greater audience is probably turned off to them if they didn't know who they were before, and instead the same close circle is going to stick along their side. So they'll continue on with their lack of awareness or their lack of care. The rest of us will kind of go, get a look at these guys. They keep their fan base while still being canceled. Instead, the masses will avert their attention to a much bigger problem at hand. Which brings us to our next form of suicide. Altruistic suicide comes about when somebody is too integrated into a society, when somebody takes the greater good as being greater than the good of themselves, and so they end up committing suicide. You may imagine this as a soldier going into the war for the betterment of their country, or somebody committing a ritualistic sacrifice as a means of serving a god for their religion. Our subject for altruistic suicide is David Dobrik.
No.
Jump in.
David Dobrik was the head of an empire, i.e. the Vlog Squad. Basically, an ecosystem of content creators whose content was each other. All of David Dobrik's reasons for cancellation all boil down to the same idea of being too committed to the content. Pressuring young girls just so that he could get a funny clip of his friend Dom. Slamming his friend into a giant metal machine, almost blinding him for life because swinging him around seemed kind of funny in the moment. All of his actions, all of his misbehaviors were all in the name of his vlog. Most of what David Dobrik was canceled for were things that we had in front of our eyes the entire time. It only took nearly murdering Jeff Wittick for people to go, hey, wait a second, something's not right. Hey David, I like some of the vlogs, except now that I think about it, why did you call your friend Jonah? Why did you do that? Oh, he was fat. That's it. When people started putting the pieces together, the jokes kind of fell flat. Suddenly, David was no longer the giggle monster behind the camera, and instead he was just the monster behind the camera. And mind you, almost every Vlog Squad member has taken part in enabling David's actions. I'm not doing this to directly apply blame to anybody who ever associated with David Dobrik. I'm not saying Scotty Sire believes that everything that David did was totally cool, except for the part where Scotty Sire said that he believes that everything that David did was totally cool.
Dave, can you hold this real quick?
Yeah, sure. Guess what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing?
Vlogging.
You're vlogging right now. Boom, I got you to vlog again. Pretty sick, right? High five. Guess who you're filming?
Who?
Me.
There were a lot of hands in the basket, and instead of David bringing down the entire organization in on itself, he decided that he would take responsibility, take the blame, and he's essentially shuttered himself away since. Except for when he became a Snapchat influencer, and also except for when he came back to YouTube with a six-pack, and people kind of got weirded out, because why the fuck does David Dobrik have a six-pack? He still has that doughy face. You gotta mew more, bro. There's nothing wrong with the doughy face, but the six-pack it's freaking me out, seeing them like that. Here's a picture of a six-pack on a baby. It doesn't look right. That's David Dobrik. Now, while not truly being canceled, as is all of our examples in this video, David still never really put that blame on anybody else but himself. However, some people do take that blame and put it on others. And that brings us to our final example of suicide. An egoistic suicide is essentially the poster child of how we imagine suicide. When someone becomes so isolated, they lack integration into a society. They feel as if they've been shunned, turned away, and really have no other place to go. They decide to commit suicide. An egoistic suicide comes about when somebody feels the pressure of all societal factors, and they don't really have anybody that they can branch out to because their ties are cut off. Now, I'm not a very big YouTube channel. I don't expect this video to ever find its way into Ethan Klein's lap. God forbid it does. I did not say that Ethan Klein should commit suicide. I never said that Ethan Klein should commit suicide. I don't think that Ethan Klein should commit suicide. But seriously, while I don't think that, I do think that Ethan Klein is a massive piece of shit. Now, my hatred with Ethan Klein does not begin with his opinions on Palestine. I actually acutely remember where I was when he had laughed at Cutie Cinderella crying on stream because a close friend of hers had been viewing AI-generated sexual images of her without her knowledge, obviously.
But I wanted to go live. Because I want to go live because this is what pain looks like. This is what it looks like, okay? Fuck the constant exploitation and objectification of women. It's exhausting.
What is going on with you?
I'm sorry, don't mind me.
If you are able to look at women who are not selling themselves or benefiting off of being seen sexually,
you're evil. You're fucking evil.
At that point, I had not heard from Ethan Klein since 2018, maybe. And seeing that really made me feel like, oh, that guy's a piece of shit. So it did not surprise me that when Ethan's podcast with Hassan Abi had ended, he essentially went on a giant tirade claiming that the world was coming in on him.
Been talking a lot about my former co-host Hassan Piker and leveling some pretty serious criticism against him. Hassan, I'm sad to say, did not watch he didn't watch a single point I made. You can see there's layers and layers and layers of character assassination, propaganda, logical fallacies, and not one response to any of the points that I've actually made. And it seems obvious to me that he's trying to poison his audience against me. He's basing this based on, like, I guess, chat. And, you know, it's like, what do you... Talk about it or don't, man. You know? Don't do this shit. People in his audience let him get away with this types of, like, hand-waving. And once again, if you're a Hassan fan, challenge him to do better than this. This is dishonest.
His laser focus on Hassan has essentially caused all creators to go, okay, dude, get the fuck away from me. Really, the only creators you might see collaborate with Ethan now are far more aligned with the right wing than the left. And still, he will devout that he is a liberal or a Democrat, even though he for some reason thinks that being a communist is a crime in 2025. I watched the content nuke, dude. I watched it in its entirety. The most shocking part was McCarthyism being a new reason for cancellation. I didn't know we were doing that. But truly, I have not heard a kind word come out of Ethan Klein's mouth in the last year, maybe. Everything has been vitriol against the world around him, against his former friends, against people who I probably would have thought are still his friends, all because they are not coming directly by his side like little lapdogs in support of him against Hassan. I'm not even the biggest Hassan fan. I think the guy's fine, but I'm not in my bedroom rubbing my 24-year-old man balls watching the guy stream 24 hours a day. I think he's humorous, and I think that he's a good advocate for some very pressing social issues that I happen to be in support of. And I bet you a lot of people in Hassan's camp probably felt the same about Ethan up until the fallout. However, due to feelings of being cut off, isolated, hated by the masses, Ethan has essentially gone full-blown cancel me, I'm not woke, cancel me. I hadn't heard of him since 2018, but usually that's a pretty good thing. If I don't really care about you as a content creator, that means that you're not in the fucking news, buddy. You're not doing awful shit all the time. But now you are, and for the most part, it's a result of your own actions. It's the inability to accept that hey, I might have said some bad shit, or hey, maybe the thing I'm doing is kind of weird. Instead, he continues to shut the light that's at the end of the tunnel more and more each day, just caving himself in with a new stone. So what's the point? Why did I make this video? You may be asking yourself. While cancel culture is the newest plague that seems to be affecting the world day to day, it hasn't really been around that long, and we haven't been able to fully exhibit every single pattern of these social sides in a sense. The most unique part about being a celebrity as an influencer is that really the only reason you're famous is because you are famous. Without the numbers, the followers, the views, you find yourself in the same place where you were at the beginning. Nobody. It's not like music where people can go back to your old hits and go, I love this, I could listen to this over and over for the rest of my life. You don't really do that with many YouTube videos. In order to be a mainstay in social media, you essentially have to be the LeBron James of content creation. Not only do you have to be good at just making content, but you also have to stay with the times. You have to stay relevant. You have to do things that still put yourselves at the forefront of everybody's mind. And while content creators claim that cancellation may be the end of the career, for a lot of them, it's kind of just a natural end to mean. Is Ethan Klein really just going out because he said some shitty shit about another content creator? No. He's kind of at the end of his career, and he's doing whatever he can to cling to relevancy. Did the world turn on Drew and Enya because of a silly little comment that they made on one podcast? No, it's an observed behavior that people have already felt off about, and their main thing now is doing a podcast. Kinda gets hard to pull off peak cinema in a podcast where the main topic is buttholes and dudes. And in addition, I think that there is far too much emphasis from people on cancel culture and how harmful it is and how it can ruin people's lives, and there's not a single content creator other than somebody who may have went to jail that I can think of that actually fully became canceled. Certainly not just for comments, certainly not just for something they said and, wanted to take back. David Dobrik helped aid in literal crimes, and the guy's still making millions off Snapchat. Asmongold is thriving off of the concept that he is a canceled creator. Cancellation is not the new form of First Amendment oppression. It's just what people think of you. When your entire job is meant to make the opinion of you to the masses favorable, and you don't do that, that's how you lose your job. Nobody is oppressing you. People are just simply saying how they feel and reacting how they would to somebody who they don't like hearing from. And my advice to a canceled content creator would be to recognize the shitty shit you did, apologize for the shitty shit you did, and do whatever you gotta do to feel as if you've atoned and make sure that the behavior is not repeated. And whatever anybody else's opinion of you is gonna be, that's gonna be their opinion. There's nothing you can do to change that. But to turn on the head once you hear those opinions and decide, no, I'm good, I need to be the shittiest person imaginable, you're spineless. People are not snowflakes because of how they feel about you. You are weak because you cannot admit that you have places where you can be better. You can't admit that, you need to change, that you need to grow as a person. Folding into stupidity, folding into bigotry, folding into blind followings just because you can't face the fact that you need to do better is weak. That is the snowflake mentality. There is so much more that we can all do as people to be better every single day. It's not weird to admit that or impossible to admit that. It might even be easier than eating a bug. Thank you all for watching my YouTube video. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a comment, a like, a subscription to the YouTube channel. It would make me feel better about myself. No matter what I say here, I'm always going to crave attention and appreciation and support and cheer and applause. All of those things really do get me through the day, so if you could do that, it would be nice. Gonna try to get back on track with posting. I had this idea to do a much bigger video, and then I just let that hold me back to posting a video. I was like, you know what, let's put one out there. Let's say something. And guess what? I can say whatever I want, and you can't cancel me. I'm the uncancel boy. Uncancelable. It's like, I don't know. Thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. If you want to follow my Twitch, I'm much more active on there. I'm streaming way too much for my own good. I will see you guys when I see you again, hopefully next month. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye. Bye.
Streaming for too many hours. Damn, I gotta take a shower. Damn, I gotta take a shower. Damn, I gotta take a shower. This shit is slapping like the mountains. Check, full, I'm just steady chowing. Drivers, get the buckets out. It's about to get wet like a